I have blood all over me, and there's a bloody knife on the bed, and I think I did it.
In the early hours of September 1, 2017, a frantic 911 call shattered the silence of a quiet North Carolina neighborhood. On the other end of the line, a man's voice trembled as he begged for help. His wife, he claimed, was unresponsive, covered in blood. Lauren Phelps was full of life, an outgoing 29-year-old with a passion for helping others. She worked as a sales representative, loved her church community, and cherished time with her family. To those who knew her, Lauren was kind, vibrant, and had her whole future ahead of her. She lived in a quiet suburban neighborhood in North Carolina, newly married and seemingly happy. But in the early hours of September 1, 2017, everything changed. What initially appeared to be a tragic accident quickly turned into something far more complex. A husband's shocking claim, a bottle of cold medicine, and a series of contradictions that left investigators questioning everything. Was this a case of unintended consequences? Or was there something more sinister hiding beneath the surface? We will take you inside the case that stunned the nation, examining the life of Lauren Phelps, the circumstances leading up to that fateful night, and the shocking revelations that followed. Stay with us as we uncover the truth behind one of the most chilling cases in recent history. Lauren Ashley Nicole Hugelmeyer Phelps was a vibrant 29-year-old woman known for her unwavering dedication to her family, faith, and community. Born and raised in North Carolina, Lauren's life was a testament to compassion and resilience. From an early age, Lauren exhibited a nurturing spirit. She pursued a career in childcare, working diligently as a daycare center employee. Her colleagues and the children's parents admired her patience and genuine love for nurturing young minds. Lauren's commitment to her profession was evident in the countless hours she devoted to creating a safe and enriching environment for the children under her care. Beyond her professional life, Lauren was deeply rooted in her faith. As an active member of Hope Lutheran Church in Wake Forest, she participated in various church activities and outreach programs. Her sister, Beth Agner, served as a youth minister at the same church, and together, they contributed significantly to their faith community. Lauren's involvement extended to volunteering for church events, where her warm presence and organizational skills were invaluable. In 2016, Lauren reconnected with Matthew Phelps, a former school acquaintance, through social media. Their rekindled friendship quickly blossomed into a romantic relationship, leading to their marriage in November of that year. Friends and family observed the couple's shared interests and mutual affection, often describing them as a perfect match. Social media posts from that period depict a couple deeply in love, embarking on life's journey together with optimism and joy. However, beneath the surface, the Phelps marriage faced challenges. Financial strains were apparent, as Lauren took on multiple jobs to support the household while Matthew pursued studies to become a pastor. Lauren's roles ranged from working as an auditor to selling scented candles through a multi-level marketing company. Despite her relentless efforts, the financial burden weighed heavily on her, leading to stress and fatigue. In the weeks leading up to the tragic incident, Lauren confided in close friends about her concerns regarding their financial situation and Matthew's lack of steady employment. She expressed feelings of being overwhelmed, juggling multiple responsibilities, and the pressure of sustaining their household. These conversations, later recounted by friends, painted a picture of a woman striving to maintain stability amidst mounting challenges. During this period, Lauren also battled health issues. She suffered from a persistent cold, which she managed with over-the-counter medications. Unbeknownst to her, this seemingly routine ailment would later become a focal point in the events that unfolded. The societal context of the time cannot be overlooked. In 2017, discussions about the potential side effects of over-the-counter medications, particularly those containing dextromethorphan, were prevalent. Reports of adverse reactions, including mood alterations and, in rare cases, hallucinations, led to public debates about the safety of these common remedies. This backdrop added a layer of complexity to the narrative that would soon capture national attention. A desperate 911 call broke the silence of a North Carolina night. A man's voice, breathless and shaken, pleaded for help. "I had a dream, and when I woke up, she was dead." The words were haunting, almost surreal. But inside the townhouse on Patuxent Drive, the reality was far worse than anyone could have imagined. It was just after 1:10 a.m. on September 1, 2017, when emergency dispatchers in Raleigh received the panicked call. The voice on the other end belonged to 28-year-old Matthew Phelps. He spoke in fragmented, confused sentences, his breathing labored as he tried to piece together the horror he claimed to have woken up to. Inside the townhouse, in the dim glow of the bedroom, Lauren Phelps lay crumpled on the floor. Blood pooled beneath her body, soaking into the beige carpet, splattered across the walls and the bed. Her body was twisted, arms bent at unnatural angles, as if she had fought against an unseen force in her final moments. The room itself was in disarray, though not in a way that suggested an outside intruder. The bed, once a place of rest, was stained with deep red, its sheets twisted and half pulled from the mattress. The air smelled of iron and something else, something sharp and metallic, something unmistakable. Near the bed, a long kitchen knife lay discarded, its blade coated in drying blood. The handle, slick with a mixture of sweat and crimson, rested just inches from where Lauren had fallen. The sight of it, so ordinary yet now so monstrous, told a story of unspeakable violence. Lauren's body bore the unmistakable signs of a brutal attack. Her once vibrant skin was marred by deep, jagged wounds. Stab wounds peppered her torso, neck, and arms, some shallow, others driven in with terrifying force. Her hands, frozen in a final defensive position, were marked with deep slashes, evidence of a desperate struggle to shield herself. Her face, once full of warmth and life, was now lifeless, her eyes half open as if frozen in shock. Blood streaked down from a gash along her jawline, pooling into the hollow of her collarbone. The silence in the room was suffocating. No cries for help remained, no echoes of the struggle that had unfolded there just moments before. Only the soft, steady hum of the air conditioning filled the space, its indifferent breeze ruffling the edges of the blood-soaked sheets. Yet, in the bedroom, all semblance of normalcy had been erased. The scene was one of undeniable brutality. A woman who had fallen asleep in the safety of her home had awoken to a nightmare. And by the time the night had ended, the warmth of life had slipped away, leaving behind only silence, only questions, only the chilling aftermath of something far more terrifying than a dream. Narrator's voice: when emergency responders arrived, they found 29-year-old Lauren Phelps lying in a pool of blood, her body bearing dozens of stab wounds. Matthew, covered in blood, appeared dazed and disoriented, claiming he had no memory of what happened. He offered a chilling explanation: he had taken too much cold medicine before going to sleep and woke up to find his wife dead. The scene was immediately secured as a homicide investigation began. Forensic teams meticulously documented the townhouse, collecting crucial pieces of evidence. The most glaring find was a bloodied kitchen knife, lying near Lauren's body, presumed to be the murder weapon. Near the bed, investigators discovered an open bottle of Coricidin cough and cold, the very medication Matthew claimed had caused him to black out. His assertion, that an over-the-counter medicine had driven him to commit such a brutal act, raised immediate skepticism. Toxicology tests later revealed that while Matthew did have the drug's active ingredients in his system, they were present in amounts consistent with normal use. Medical experts would later dismiss his claim, stating that the medication, even when abused, was highly unlikely to trigger violent outbursts of such magnitude. But the physical evidence told an even darker story. The sheer number of stab wounds, 123 in total, pointed to an act of extreme rage, not the random, uncontrolled attack of someone in a medicated stupor. Lauren had suffered deep, deliberate wounds, concentrated around her head, neck, and torso, a pattern that suggested she had fought for her life. Blood spatter analysis indicated that the attack had been sustained and forceful, a stark contradiction to the image Matthew tried to paint of an unconscious, dreamlike assault. Investigators also noted something else: the absence of defensive wounds on Matthew himself. If Lauren had struggled against him, why were there no injuries to suggest he had been clawed at or struck in self-defense? As forensic specialists worked the crime scene, detectives turned their attention to Matthew's past. His personal and financial history soon painted an unsettling picture. Though he had attended Clear Creek Baptist Bible College, he never completed his studies. Friends described him as a man obsessed with wealth and status but unwilling to put in the effort to achieve it. He had a habit of exaggerating his accomplishments and living beyond his means. The Phelpses were newly married, but their relationship had already shown cracks. Financial stress loomed over them, with mounting debt and a lifestyle that didn't match their income. Investigators also uncovered a disturbing digital trail. A forensic sweep of Matthew's phone and computer revealed searches about the effects of quercetin, including whether it could cause memory loss or aggression. More alarmingly, he had looked up ways to kill someone without leaving evidence. It was clear that he had an interest in the idea of getting away with murder, which cast serious doubt on his claim that he had acted without intent. Despite his initial statements, Matthew quickly became the sole suspect. But before the case could go to trial, an overwhelming amount of evidence left him with little room to argue his innocence. In court, he eventually pleaded guilty to first-degree murder. As he stood before the judge, he expressed remorse, stating, "I feel like a monster." It was a sentiment echoed by those who followed the case, though many believed his apology was too little, too late. The investigation into Lauren Phelps' murder was not just a quest for justice, it became a study in manipulation, premeditation, and the extent to which someone would go to evade responsibility. The defense's attempt to blame cold medicine for a brutal, prolonged attack was met with widespread skepticism. Medical professionals dismissed the idea that an over-the-counter drug could induce homicidal behavior, and prosecutors emphasized that this was not an impulsive act but a calculated one. In the solemn chambers of the Wake County Courthouse, the trial of Matthew James Phelps unfolded, a case that captivated the nation with its blend of marital discord, a gruesome crime, and a defense hinging on the alleged side effects of an over-the-counter medication. The prosecution, led by seasoned attorneys, meticulously constructed a narrative portraying Phelps as a man driven by financial woes and personal turmoil to commit a heinous act. Central to their argument was the sheer brutality of the crime. Lauren Phelps had been subjected to 123 stab wounds, a level of violence indicative of rage and intent, far beyond the scope of an accidental or unconscious act. Medical experts were summoned to the stand to dissect the defense's claim that excessive consumption of quercetin cough and cold medicine could precipitate violent behavior. These professionals acknowledged that while certain compounds in the medication might induce mild hallucinations or dizziness, there was a conspicuous absence of empirical evidence linking it to episodes of extreme aggression or homicidal tendencies. The toxicology reports further undermined the defense, revealing that the concentration of the medication in Phelps' system was within therapeutic limits, negating the possibility of a psychotic break induced by overdose. The prosecution delved into Phelps' digital footprint, unearthing a series of unsettling online activities. Forensic analysts presented data showing that, in the weeks preceding the tragedy, Phelps had conducted internet searches on topics such as ways to commit murder, how to cover up a crime scene, and lethal dosages of medications. This premeditated behavior starkly contradicted the image of a loving husband who inadvertently caused harm under the influence of medication. A pivotal moment in the trial was the presentation of the 911 call placed by Phelps in the early hours of September 1, 2017. The recording echoed through the courtroom, "I think I killed my wife. I have blood all over me, and there's a bloody knife on the bed, and I think I did it." The prosecution emphasized Phelps' repeated use of the word "think," suggesting a calculated attempt to feign confusion and distance himself from the deliberate nature of his actions. Testimonies from Lauren's close acquaintances painted a portrait of a vibrant young woman whose life was abruptly extinguished. Friends recounted instances where Lauren confided about escalating tensions within the marriage, particularly concerning financial strains and Phelps' erratic spending habits. These accounts provided a backdrop of motive, suggesting that Phelps viewed the elimination of his wife as a solution to his mounting debts and personal dissatisfaction. In contrast, the defense endeavored to humanize Phelps, portraying him as an individual with no prior history of violence, who fell victim to an unforeseen adverse reaction to a common medication. They introduced psychological experts who posited that Phelps might have experienced a dissociative episode, exacerbated by a purported history of sleep disturbances. However, under cross-examination, these experts conceded the rarity of such extreme reactions and the lack of concrete evidence linking the medication to violent outbursts of this magnitude. The defense's narrative faced further erosion when financial records were introduced, revealing that Lauren Phelps had a life insurance policy valued at $100,000, with Matthew Phelps as the primary beneficiary. This revelation cast a shadow over the defense's portrayal of an unintended tragedy, suggesting instead a premeditated act motivated by financial gain. After exhaustive deliberations, the jury returned with a verdict that resonated through the courtroom. "We, the jury, find the defendant, Matthew James Phelps, guilty of first-degree murder and sentenced him to life in prison without the possibility of parole." The pronouncement elicited a palpable wave of emotion. Lauren's family members clung to one another, tears streaming down their faces, a mixture of sorrow and relief that justice had been served. The presiding judge, acknowledging the gravity of the crime and the calculated nature of Phelps' actions, imposed a sentence of life imprisonment without the possibility of parole. In a brief allocution, Phelps addressed the court, his voice tinged with contrition. "I feel like a monster, part of the wretched, part of the darkness we don't speak of." Yet, for many, his words rang hollow, overshadowed by the brutality of his deeds. The trial garnered extensive media coverage, with headlines nationwide probing the perplexing defense strategy. Legal analysts engaged in fervent debates across television panels, dissecting the viability of the defense's claims and the implications of accepting such arguments in criminal jurisprudence. Medical professionals took to public forums, clarifying the pharmacological effects of common cold medications and dispelling myths about their potential to incite violent behavior. Public sentiment was polarized. While a faction empathized with the notion of an unforeseen medical reaction, the overwhelming majority perceived the defense as a desperate gambit to obfuscate premeditated malice. Social media platforms buzzed with discussions, many expressing indignation at the attempt to attribute such a violent act to a readily available medication. The case also ignited broader conversations about the accessibility and regulation of over-the-counter drugs. Lawmakers and consumer safety advocates deliberated on the necessity for more stringent warning labels and potential restrictions on medications containing psychoactive compounds. Pharmaceutical companies issued statements reaffirming the safety of their products when used as directed, aiming to assuage public apprehension. In the aftermath, Lauren Phelps' legacy extended beyond the confines of the courtroom. Her tragic demise became a catalyst for heightened awareness about domestic violence, the perils of financial secrecy within marriages, and the ethical responsibilities of individuals in seeking genuine solutions to personal crises. Community organizations established initiatives in her memory, offering support to individuals in tumultuous relationships and promoting open dialogues about mental health and financial transparency. The case of Lauren Phelps left an unsettling mark on both the justice system and public perception. What began as a suspected overdose quickly unraveled into something far more sinister, a brutal crime entangled with questions of intent, pharmaceutical effects, and the limits of personal responsibility. But beyond the courtroom, this case raised deeper concerns about the intersection of medicine and the law. Could over-the-counter medications really cause violent behavior, or was this a calculated attempt to manipulate the system? Pharmacology experts largely dismissed the notion that common cold medicine could induce homicidal tendencies, but the defense's argument sparked conversations about the broader implications of drug-induced psychosis. Were there cases where medication played a legitimate role in violent incidents? And if so, how should the justice system differentiate between genuine medical episodes and premeditated acts disguised as such? In response to growing public scrutiny, regulatory agencies examined whether certain over-the-counter medications should carry stronger warnings about potential psychological effects. However, no substantial policy changes emerged from the case, and cold medications containing dextromethorphan remain widely available. This raises an unsettling question: could this defense be used again in future criminal cases? Yet, even with a guilty verdict, lingering mysteries remain. Were there warning signs in the days leading up to Lauren's murder that were overlooked? Could more have been done to prevent the tragedy? And is there still undiscovered evidence, perhaps digital records or medical findings, that could provide an even clearer picture of what truly happened that night? Legal analysts have debated whether the case highlights flaws in modern investigative techniques. Some argue that forensic evidence alone should be enough to determine intent, while others suggest that psychological factors need to be given more weight in cases where mental state is contested. Sociologists point out that this case also serves as a grim reminder of how financial struggles, secrecy, and emotional isolation can lead to devastating consequences. A brutal crime, a shocking defense, and a trial that left no room for doubt, Lauren Phelps' case was one that gripped the nation. From the chilling 911 call to the forensic evidence that dismantled the cold medicine alibi, every detail painted a grim picture of deception and tragedy. What do you think? Was justice truly served in this case? Do you believe the cold medicine played any role, or was it just an excuse? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. And if you found this story compelling, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss our next deep dive into the world of true crime.